Hi, so this is the updated syllabus discussion for 2601, Fundamentals of Environmental Engineering. I've got the syllabus pulled up on a screen for me so I can read through it as we're chatting. So if you see my eyes glancing back and forth, you see me pointing at something, it's because I actually have the Word document pulled up. And so I would encourage you, go on Canvas, look at the tab that says Syllabus. I have cut and pasted the syllabus into that tab. Canvas kind of reformats it a little bit strange, so I would encourage you also to click on the hyperlink that actually will download the Word document because it's maybe easier to look through that one. So I'm going to actually look at this Word document and then talk you through it. So at the very beginning, it says updated as of March 18th, 2020. So that's when I updated the syllabus. You'll see that that's red. I've used red and striking out to be able to highlight what's going on in the syllabus, what was there before and what's there now. So if we look at this and we scroll down the first page, we see that this is still Fundamentals of Environmental Engineering and Science. It's still 2601. We still have our teaching assistants on there. When you are in the Monday and Tuesday lab, you know whether you have Majid or Miriam as your teaching lab assistants, and so that's who you would send your emails to about your lab assignments with your lab reports attached as a PDF. You also see that Miriam is the homework grader, so that's where you would send your emails of your required and optional homeworks, again, attached as a PDF, and you've got to include, you really must include your course number, 2601, and the assignment that we're looking at, whether it's, Unit 4 required homework or Unit 4 optional homework. As you can imagine, we're going from kind of papers to all things being PDFs via email. It's going to be impossible to keep track of all this unless you've got some kind of rhyme or reason for what you're doing. Name your files something that makes sense, like, for instance, your last name, your family name, and the course number, and the unit number, and what the assignment is. So for instance, I would name a file Other 2601, Unit 4, optional homework. And I would send an email to Miriam, and I would say, Miriam, here is in the subject line 2601, Unit 4, optional homework, and I would attach the PDF. If you don't do that, it's going to be impossible for us to keep track of all these things. So make sure you're doing that. Now you'll notice on here, I've marked, lecture and lab. We're still getting 2 credit hours worth of lecture and a credit hour worth of lab, but we're obviously not doing it in Butler Hall anymore, so I've scratched that out. Course description stays the same. Text stays the same. Learning objectives and grading. These things are staying the same. Now as we scroll through, we're at the top of the second page of the Word document. Required exercises must be successfully completed before the end of the semester. You can't pass the class without doing the work. So if we get to the end of the semester, like, 6-8 weeks from now, and you haven't finished the required stuff, then I can't give you a passing grade. Now, I do realize that you might say, okay, but Dan, what if I get sick? I'm going to work with you, continue to communicate. But remember, I've removed these kind of you fail because you didn't get something done by the deadline. I've removed that kind of stuff. What's still there is you got to do the work. So please don't put it off, because every class is going to all of a sudden come up with a bunch of stuff at the end of the semester. And if you put this one off, you're going to fall behind in all, and you're probably going to start failing some classes. So if you want to play games with not getting your work done, you'll suffer the consequences from that. But don't worry about, I've got to get it done by Monday this date or by Wednesday this date. If something slides because you're sick, or something slides because in an emergency you're taking care of somebody else in your family or taking care of a roommate, you will not fail the class because an assignment is late. You will have difficulties passing the class if we get 8 weeks from now and you haven't done your work. Okay? So, trying to be super clear. You're still allowed to skip one required exercise in the semester. Before I had said you were allowed to miss one. Well, now obviously you can miss the deadlines, but you're still allowed to skip one. And you see I've marked out where it says if you miss more than one required exercise, you get a grade for the entire course. That's marked out now. Now, still on the top of that second page, grading assigned to optional exercises. There are now 50 points over the required 70. So 70 gets you your C, you pass the class. There's now 50 points over that. There is this optional discussion board, which is going on this week and going on next week during spring break. Each day there's an optional discussion board post with a little video. Each day there's an opportunity to comment on both my video as well as one of your colleagues. Each one of those is worth a point. So there's now 120 possible points. You need 89.5 to get an A. So you'll notice continuing to move down that page, no credit will be given for late or missed assignments, right? Non-negotiable deadlines, that's scratched out because everything's become negotiable except the end of the semester. If you don't do your work before the end of the semester, I don't have any choice but to assign you an incomplete, right? Now, exams. Here's an important one. To the maximum extent possible, I would request that you have a second person proctor your exam. This can be a friend, this can be a parent, this can be a roommate, right? Here's what I'm looking for. On the day of the exam, I will send an email to everyone in the class that has the exam. I will ask you to either print that at home or work out on that electronically on your computer, so you'll have an email with a PDF of the test. If you've got an allowance to take 2 hours rather than 1 hour to take the test, that's totally fine. Take 2 hours instead of 1 hour. I am trusting you to be adults and handle this situation appropriately. I'm also trusting you to get somebody else to help proctor your test. In other words, this could be a parent, an aunt and uncle, a cousin, a roommate, somebody else who's there with you, somebody that says, yep, you know what, they put stuff away off their desk, they're not looking on the internet, they're not emailing with others, and what I'm looking for is for you to have that person sign the document that, yep, I've double checked, and yes, they are doing this in the way they're supposed to. So if you can't get that, that is okay, right? So I need to have credibility that you're doing the best you can to have exams that are done well. We have so many ways of getting points that I'm not worried just about the exams. If possible, have somebody else sign off that they've looked at the fact that you're doing the exam properly. When you're done, send a PDF of that exam. Email it to me with the course number and a subject line that tells me what it is, and name the file, your last name, the course number, and what it is. Just get in the habit, because if you send something, hey Dan from the class, or here's my exam, and it's just called like exam 3, you may or may not get credit for it. And it's not because I'm trying to not give you credit, it's because it may get lost. Now, this is not going to just happen in my class, this is going to happen in all of your classes. So right now, be proactive. Name your files, your name, the course number, what the file is. In the subject line of your emails, make sure you've got things like the course number and the subject line of what you've attached. Make it super easy for faculty and graders, TAs, to be able to understand what they're looking at. This just helps you, right? If we don't know what we're looking at, it's hard for us to give you grades. Homework you see on there, please submit as PDF, send an email to the TA, and copy me. That way I've got a copy as well. Make sure you include the unit number in all your emails. For your lab reports, same deal. Email your TA, feel free to copy me, right? Please include your unit number and the course number in your emails. S&T Connect, nothing's changed. Academic dishonesty, nothing's changed. You cheat in one of my classes, you fail the class. So nobody's going to be cheating, I'm sure of that, but if you cheat in a class, you fail the class. S&T Connect, Title IX, none of those things have changed. Accessibility and accommodation. If there's something I can do that helps you because you have an accessibility or accommodation to help you be able to get your work done, give me a shout, send me an email, let me know what else I can do to help make things go well for you. If you get 2 hours on a test, take 2 hours on a test. You already know that, right? Obviously, the classroom egress maps and lead and student success centers, I've crossed those out. Not because there's not things available, but because they don't apply the same way as I've got them written down there. So if you're using resources to help you study, continue to use them, but realize that they're going to all be kind of under different approaches, and that those approaches are going to be fluid and change with time. If you've got a concern, you can always email Joel Birkin, the department chair. Course calendar, everything stays the same. So now I'm scrolling down. I'm in the middle of page 5 of 7, and what we're looking at is the table of the course. So week 1 is the first column, Monday lecture, Monday or Tuesday lab, and Wednesday lecture. So 4 columns, and then there's rows. Each row is a different week of class. So if we scroll down, and we're looking now at page 6 of 7, and we scroll down to week number 9, that's this current week, and that's when everything kind of got changed up. So we didn't do an optional water treatment lecture on the 16th. We didn't do an optional water treatment and exam review on the 18th. Those things didn't happen. Next week is spring break, the 23rd, the 25th. No classes, spring break, right? Now, I will still be doing the discussion board. So please do continue to participate in the optional discussion board that goes on this week, that goes on next week during spring break. So I encourage you, please continue to participate in the optional discussion board. Now, we get down to week 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Here's where some changes have occurred. So let me explain these quickly. Week 11, we'll still have the optional exam, number 2 on modules 5 and 6, water quality, water treatment. I will have a lecture on the 30th. So there'll be a lecture posted before the 30th. It'll be some video that I've recorded where I talk through water treatment and I talk through an exam review. So if you're planning on taking exam number 2, I'd encourage you to watch that optional lecture. We have that lab, a suspended solids lab. We won't be obviously meeting in the lab and measuring suspended solids by hand, but we will have a video with a simulation of how to look at suspended solids with a brief quiz that goes along with it. So there will still be a suspended solids lab online available for you the 11th week of class. So you're still responsible for that. But you notice, if you go to the 12th week of class, the tour of the wastewater treatment plant, that's scratched out because we obviously can't go on a tour. You will notice on April 6th, there is the required face-to-face wastewater treatment lecture. Now, we obviously won't be meeting face-to-face. I will record and post a lecture on wastewater treatment. Module 7 will be due on the 6th, so that doesn't change. That's right there. You can see it. Module 7's due on the 6th. Okay, great. So we got that. How do you turn in Module 7? You add PDFs to emails that you send to the TA with a copy to me. The files are named with your last name, the course number, the unit, and the assignment. So for instance, you might mail something in that says, Susie Smith, 2601, Module 7, required homework. You send it to the TA, you send a copy to me. The file should be super easy for us to open, look at, see as PDF. If we have any problems, we'll obviously email you right back, right? So does that make sense, kind of how to look through this? Basically, we're going to continue to do all the things that are on here. Everything will be posted so that you can go through and look at the videos. Everything will still be exams. Everything's still on here. It's just that it's going to be handled all electronically. So still stay in touch, still stay in communication. We still stay engaged with each other. As things kind of settle down and folks get a little bit better with like hopping online and doing some Zoom videos, I'm going to start migrating my lectures to Zoom. But right now, like the whole system has become overwhelmed, right? Some of these Zoom lectures like aren't showing up for like 3 days after they've been recorded. So I'm not trying to get into that space. YouTube has got a lot of bandwidth. It's kind of there. It's easy. It's accessible. So I'm going to keep working in the space where it's super easy for us to all work. Things like VoiceOver PowerPoint or MP3 files and PowerPoint. You're already familiar with that kind of stuff with me in teaching. I'm going to stay in that space because it works. It doesn't use a lot of bandwidth. It doesn't rely on this technology that everyone else is rushed to use. So we're going to stay simple. We're going to keep making progress. I invite you, please participate in these optional discussion boards. Please engage with us this week and next week in talking about what's going on. Please look at this schedule, and if you've got questions or concerns, shoot me a mail. I'm happy to explain. Have a great day.